Chinatown TRIP was one of the 5 grassroots groups which formed the Chinatown CDC. TRIP was founded by some of the first Chinese bus drivers in San Francisco, who gave free rides to Chinatown seniors during the city craft strike in 1976. As one of the first transportation advocacy groups in the country, TRIP's leadership has resulted in many important transportation improvements for Chinatown and for the entire city. This is their story.
Landy and I were good friends. We were both driving at Muni at that time, and the craft workers went on strike.
Transportation-wise, everything stopped, and we found that our housekeepers and our older workers have no income because when they couldn't go to work, then they have no income. Along came some of the Muni drivers. They found that they have now some spare time, and they organized among themselves so that some of the drivers could actually take our older workers to work and back home. I was very thankful because many of our workers would have been in a very bad shape if we didn't get this extra transportation help from people like Phil Chin and Landy.
We went and rounded up about a dozen of our fellow drivers. We convinced them that this was something worth doing. After the strike was over, we prepared our own set of proposals. I went to the chamber and presented the plan, and I got Rose back to support it.
Transportation is important in Chinatown to get the residents to the job, to get them to their social outlets, to enable them to have upward mobility.
The projects that we wanted to focus on was improving service on the 30 Stockton, extending the 55 out to the outer Richmond, and then starting new service on Pacific Avenue.
Muni had not kept up with the increase in Chinatown residents, Chinatown shoppers. The service that was provided at the time was very atrocious and appalling.
30 Express would drive by Stockton Street, a lot of the times empty or half empty, and it still would not stop at the bus stops in Chinatown that were packed with hundreds of people. The 30 Expresses were just running by. Somehow that didn't seem right to us.
The 55 line was a good line, but it terminated on 6th Avenue. So we advocated for a longer continual line.
I think the 83 was the most rewarding. Part of that was because it was completely new service.
The concept of the 83 came about as a result realizing that there are many Chinatown resident shoppers living over the hill up in North Beach Correction. At the time, there were only 2 bus lines that traversed the hills going west on Sacramento and on Union Street. 8 blocks with shopping bags would be a long ways to walk. So we've felt that we needed another bus line in the middle.
The 83 was a whole new ballgame. It was totally new. In fact, they complained about it, the street being too narrow.
One evening when I was an operator on the number 2 Clement, pulling out on the required route, I decided to go up through Stockton Street into Chinatown, and I made a right turn on Pacific Avenue. I had no trouble operating up Pacific Avenue. That service started in 1979, and it was number 83.
How we should have the seniors cross the intersection. Today we manage it with a scramble lights.
When I was walking around Chinatown, I'm just amazed at what the TRIP had been able to accomplish. I looked at all the scramble lights on Kearny Street and on Stockton Street. Now people could cross safely without all these cars turning left or right. It's really a relief to have a group like TRIP mindful of what we need as pedestrian safety and making sure that the streets are safe for our residents.
The reason the Central Subway is important to Chinatown, it's an economic generator that will make it easier for shoppers and tourists to come to Chinatown, and it makes it such that the Central Subway will be able to handle greater loads on the street, whereas today the bus is limited.
When Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat in the front of the bus in Montgomery, Alabama, I think that made it a civil right that all of us should be entitled to. That's what motivated us early on. We didn't know what transit equity meant, but we knew that there was injustice when the 30 Express was running empty and the 30 Local was packed, and every time a bus left the bus stop, there were still 50 more people standing there. We certainly understand that that was something that needed to be corrected.